Hey, YouTube family. It's time for an NFA Money Talk, and we had a little bit of a hiccup in our scheduling, so we don't have a guest today. And so I decided, hey, I'm good at winging it. Let's go for it. So we're going to talk today about money fears because this is the NFA Money Talks channel where you get to focus on money confidence. And of course, in building a business, big money fears are going to come up for you on a consistent basis. Oh, interesting. I see our guest here right now. Okay, we're really going to double wing it because now we're going to have her on. Let's add her to the stream and go for it.
Hi.
Hey, I was just saying, hey, I'm going to wing it today and I'm going to go solo because we had a scheduling issue and here you are anyway. So let's go for it. We're going to wing it as we go.
You're awesome.
It's nice. I know. It was funny one day I had this, an emergency come up with a guest and I just winged it. And it was like, you know what, let's have fun with this because that's the way lives go.
That's real life anyway, right?
So I'm
And that's what
glad that yeah, I love it. And for everyone watching, this is our first time getting to meet each other too. We get, I trust my sources when I get a referral of like someone goes, hey, this would be a great guest for your show. I'm like, okay, awesome. So I'm psyched that you're here. You're going to see me typing sometimes because I'm going to be typing in information that you're talking about because it'll be an evolving conversation as we go. So let's start with this because I always like to draw people into what they're going to get out of these NFA Money Talks, which are really about live, connected, deep conversations with entrepreneurs who are successful in their business and around the topic of money, because it's something that we tend to not want to talk about very much. So I would love for you to first answer, what's a big money fear that you had to break through in order to get to where you are in your business right now?
Oh my gosh, I love this topic so much because there's so much below the surface that we don't even realize kind of what it stirs up because we all know what we should be doing. And then there's this thing that happens. It's like, why the hell am I not doing it? Right. And one of the biggest, I have a few, but the biggest one, the biggest like hit me between the eyeballs one was if I make XYZ amount of money, and we're talking seven figures and over, because I'd broken the smaller money blocks that got me to have some success. But I was like, why am I not like crossing this threshold? Right? Why am I not going this level? And, unpacking some of my own crap, I'm going to be 50 this week. So there's lots of crap there. One of the biggest ones and the one that still like is in my body, right? It's one thing to understand it cognitively. It's another thing to like embody the new belief around it. The biggest one I have is that if I make that kind of money, I will be abusive. Because that's what I grew up with. Like people that had the money, had the power, which I liked, but they also were abusive. And I did not like that. I'm all about having my own independence, autonomy, not relying on anybody. And that's why I've had the success that I have. But next level FU money meant I would be like, I associated that with being abusive, and that's not who I am. And so really having that awareness, it's one thing to have awareness. Now you got to do something about it. Right. So yeah, that's the big one for me.
Wow. That's a powerful share. It's interesting sometimes, like when people are talking, to get like a visceral reaction. It was like I felt my chest expand, and that was huge. I think I have a similar one. It's like, what if when I become mega FU money wealthy, like I turn into a jerk, like a overpowering jerk, and it's a similar concept. Was there anything in particular, like in that abusive language, that you felt like afraid of specifically that played out in your mind in scenarios and things like that?
Well, yeah, growing up, my dad called the shots. I was very close with my dad. I perceived my mom as weak, because she wouldn't stand up to him. She put herself in a situation, and it sounds super judgy, but that's kind of like discerning like where the power was as a little girl. It's kind of what I thought. And even though I wanted to be on the side of the power, I didn't necessarily want to be on the side of abuse and abusive. Yeah. And, as I grew into that, my dad, when I was like 4 years old, he would say, like, my big green eyes are looking at him, like, tell me all the things, Dad. And he was like, learn how to make money while you're asleep, you make the money, so you control the money and you have all the power. And, I was a little girl and he wanted a boy. So like, since he didn't get that, he kind of drilled into me like those thoughts. And so I was like, noted. And I did all those things. I've always been independent, always worked. But then there came a time, getting married, 7, 8 years ago when I was married, and then divorcing and how I operated in a divorce and like closing him out of bank accounts so he couldn't like take money.
Mm-hmm.
And moving into another relationship that when I drank too much and he wanted to like take care of me, I got very abusive with my words. I don't remember them, but I'm not surprised that I did. And so really doing the healing work over the last decade plus now around, just because you have money and independence doesn't mean you will be abusive.
Mm.
It doesn't mean that. And in fact, I've gone on in my own family to break a lot of these generational crappy things that have gone on. But also, I'm getting evidence in the receipts that there is some element of truth to perception of me. People may perceive me as abusive or too good for them or an asshole, quite honestly. Like, even though that's not my truth, and I know that with my God and the divine spirit above me, I know my intention, and so does God. But that doesn't mean the perception of me is accurate. And having this discussion with myself, do I fight it and defend myself? Or is there part of the story over? And that's the real hard part, because it hurts. It freaking hurts, no matter how strong and powerful I am and independent and well, versed in personal growth. It still fucking hurts when people walk out of your life.
Yeah.
And a lot of
and you lose people as you up level. You do lose people. You said so many important things there that I want to point out. One, I think that is really interesting that you shared was that your dad wanted a boy, and so he treated you that way, which highlights gender differences in the way that parents treat their boys and the girls. Like in what you said, there's this assumption that men are trained to be powerful with money and women aren't. So he was like treating you like a boy, which trained you to be like a boy with money. And then that's a negative thing as a woman, right?
It's crazy because, I'm very strong and I'm intense, fiery, and all the things. And as a woman, I've been labeled a bitch or intense and aggressive, yet put me in the boardrooms and every man in the boardroom wants me fighting the fight. And so it's really discerning, is this who I am, or am I trying to prove something like I did with my dad most of my life? I felt like I was always having to prove, earn my worth, show him that I could be both, a feminine, beautiful young woman, and also like, you fuck with me and I will cut you kind of girl. And it's been this whole dichotomy of like the flow of that, because I am both. I am both naturally, but really owning it from a place of embodiment rather than proving or insecurity or a wall of protection, quite honestly.
Yeah. Which, as a woman, that sometimes those tools are essential. And it is interesting how women are perceived differently when they're money powerhouses than men are. It's the expectation for men in a lot of ways. And for women, it's like, oh, you're a wealthy woman, you must be a bitch or you must be too masculine. It's talked about that a little bit. I've had very interesting similarities to what you're saying. I think it's fascinating.
Even in like that last run that I won with you, like I can feel it in my body. And that is something that in the past I would have really shut down. It's like, no, we don't have time for feelings right now. We need to be on.
Yeah.
And really honoring that part of me that, yes, I am powerful, but powerful doesn't mean abusive, and powerful can mean dropping into my body and into that compassion and empathetic part of me. And knowing that, even though I show that part of me and the vulnerable sides of me, even when it comes to freaking money, doesn't mean that I'm going to be violated or taken advantage of, nor do I have to kind of show this prowess that like I will not be fucked with. Right. And it's this beautiful yin and yang that I have learned along the way. It's messy as hell sometimes. But the more that I lean into both sides of me, because you got to have both, like you got to have both, like you do. And thankfully, I know the masculine side very, very well. I don't need to really learn that one anymore. It's very instinctual, where I really have to focus my growth, especially in regards to money and wealth and education and financial literacy, to my, legacy of my two children. Where I am my best and where I am the greatest mentor when it comes to money and wealth is when I'm in this energy.
What would you say this energy is?
The knowing, the beautiful softness of me that knows that wealth and money in the right hands of the right people can do miraculous, beautiful things. And really like letting myself and let people see that vulnerable part of me. Doesn't mean you're like going to get access to my bank account or anything, but I will let you see the heart behind the money. And I can do other things with it than just like prove that you will not mess with me, or, those with the most toys wins, or, I can just control you because I call the shots here, which is how I grew up every day of my life. And the last thing I ever wanted to do is repeat that. And there were moments in my life, before the last 10, 12 years that was the case in my own home. If you don't repair it, you repeat it. And that comes with your money mindset and your money beliefs and what you think to be true for you, whether it's at a conscious level or a subconscious level.
Yeah. So many gems of wisdom. That conversation around if you don't repair it, you repeat it. When you say, in terms of repair, what steps did you take to repair your money mindset and break through some of these money blocks? Because I think that's really helpful for people watching. It's like we can go, oh, we're conscious. We're somewhat conscious of these money blocks. Now what do we do?
Yeah. And I wish I could tell you it was a checklist and boom, 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 you're done.
Yeah.
I say this all the time to my children and the people that I love and lead, like we're not done till we're dead, quite honestly. And, new levels bring new devils. And the more that you are up leveling yourself and the more high up you want to go with your wealth and your money, it's going to reveal more that you need to work on. And so really having compassion for myself first, that, when I was hit with that more money means more abusive power, that one put me in the fetal position for a short period of time. Like, holy shit. And I had evidence that was true for me, like not just as the receiver of it, but I was also the one that was doing that. And I had to have compassion, like, we do what we're taught, told, and modeled. And in order to do something different, I'm going to have to learn something different and integrate something different. And so I'm a continuous work in progress. I use the tool of the Enneagram for the last 10 years, personally, professionally, and now educationally for the world and corporations and businesses and organizations, to help us communicate better each other and understand the core fear at each of us. Because when we can really like streamline and get to the root of things much quicker, you eliminate this room for, the shitty self-talk, the inner critic, the sabotage, the procrastination. It's like you've got this GPS right to your soul that allows you to really kind of navigate these hard parts about us with compassion, with empathy, with love, so that we can do what we're called here to do in this world, and without all the baggage that sometimes we tie to it. So I use the Enneagram personally. I have a very strong faith. Those are my two biggest tools, but I'm never done.
Yeah. I so appreciate that you said this, because I love it when people come to me and it's like they want like the magic pill, and it's like, I'm going to give you a 1, 2, 3 step formula. Yes, I have those, and those take your whole life to really master yourself, which I don't even really believe we ever truly master ourselves. It's a constantly evolving upward spiral of growth where you're expanding. And at every level, you're going to meet new parts of yourself, like the shadow sides, right? And all those things that get brought up. And as you make more money, it highlights some of the shadows in ways you would not expect. Like you're saying, being in the fetal position, realizing like, oh my God, I'm afraid that if I make a lot of money, I'm going to be abusive. That's a pretty serious money block. And so to break through that is critical for your success. And, everyone here that watches this at any point in time, know that you have money blocks. I don't care what level of money you make, you're going to reveal money blocks as you grow your business and as you evolve as a person. Relationships will trigger it, new levels in your business, having kids, having, sicknesses, like all those things are revealers of our money blocks. And it's so powerful to shift through them and then face the next one, and even face the same one from a new perspective based on your new perspective as you've grown.
It's so true. Like the different perspective on that. And I want you to know, like that one that I revealed about the abusiveness, that was buried under probably 20 other rocks of awarenesses of, oh, that's a block, that's a block, that's a boulder. I couldn't get to the root of this one until I cleared the way with the other beliefs first. I know a lot of you watching right now are like, I just get me to the root. Well, sometimes you got to pull the weed whacker out before you can get to the root of the weed that's causing all the problems. And say, I'm here for the process, no matter how long it takes, surrender to it, but stay in action, unconditional commitment to saying, I invite in every day to God, like, please reveal whatever thoughts, feelings, emotions, memories that I need to address so that I no longer stand in the way to your calling on my life. Mm-hmm. And when I do that, like, it's not always pretty, y'all. Like some of the shit that comes up, I'm like, oh, I didn't mean that one.
Yeah. You're like, can I take that request back?
Yeah. But the things that we're unwilling to reveal will keep us from healing.
Exactly.
And I want you to know, if it gets revealed to you through a thought, feeling, emotion, memory, it means you're ready to deal with it. Yeah. You don't have to bury it anymore. And I've really allowed myself, like, knowing this is going to hurt. This is going to suck for a little bit. I'm going to lose some people along the way here, but we get one life and one shot at this. And I am not going to minimize any of the gifts I've been given. We're always in a constant state of discovery and recovery. Like, we'll discover new things and then we have to recover. And that the recovery isn't necessarily a bad word. It's like in the gym, when we break down a muscle, we need recovery time so it can be stronger and better. This discovery process, when we discover old thoughts, feelings, memories, emotions, experiences, just because we're discovering them and have to recover from them, that isn't a negative thing. Yeah. It's actually where the beauty and growth and the acceleration of your transformation happens. It's where you break generational patterns. It's where you can really step into what you were always called to do before life came and got you and kicked you in the teeth a little bit.
Yeah. To wake you up to get into some sort of new alignment.
None of us change unless the consequence is great enough. And unfortunately for most of us, that does require some pain sometimes. Yeah. Sometimes self-inflicted.
I like to highlight this. It's so powerful. What you're saying, change takes pain. Like, and it's your perception of that pain that's going to have you move through it in different ways. Some people can get really stuck in the pain and resist it, which causes more pain. I like to think about pain and growth as simultaneously happening, right? Like, it's impossible to grow without some pain. And so if you can see those obstacles as on the way, and you can see that change and that growth as like, oh yeah, I'm breaking through the new level. And I love how you compared it to building muscle, because like, in order to build muscle, you got to rip the muscle and then repair, and then you take the recovery time and then it grows. It's the exact same thing as business growth, money growth, personal development growth. Like, you're going to have to face some shit and face yourself.
Here's the disclaimer on this, because I'm guessing you and I are wired very similar. And for some of you, more type A kind of personalities. Not just am I wired, like, I love intense I eat intensity for breakfast. That makes me feel alive. And also the environment I grew up in was very intense. And so here's where you got to be careful though. Like, you don't want to manufacture your own pain and cause chaos and drama, because you seem to operate better when your back's up against the wall. I tend to do that in the past. Like, I'm like, I can stir up some shit right now, because I know it's like pulling a slingshot back. It's like, I'm okay taking a big step or two back, because I know when I release it and really hit the accelerator, I'm going to, fly forward at a very fast rate. and what we can do. Like, yes, does that sometimes happen, and is pain sometimes required? Yes, but you don't want to manufacture it just to make you feel alive to do it, because not only will it cause a lot of problems for you, you're going to hurt a lot of people along the way, and you can do some damage that is unrepairable sometimes. So just being like, this is a humbling moment. Like, am I stirring shit up because this is,
Yeah.
I know I can make shit happen? Or is this like real, like healing pain? There's a big difference between recovery
Yeah.
and like
Yeah.
your life up.
You know, it's funny typing and talking at the same time. I'm noticing typos in there, so ignore the typos, everyone. This is a really important point, because in my mind, what you're bringing up is our addiction to feeling bad, our addiction to stress, especially for type A people who push, push, push and feel afraid to relax some, because in that relaxation, it's actually less comfortable and it's out of the comfort zone. So it's like being willing to feel good every day and being willing to invite your pain points and your challenges versus creating drama to be in constant pain.
Yeah. And here's the thing about that. Like, you can get away with this for a long, long time. And I'm speaking specifically to my women out there. Like, you'll get away with this for a long, long time until you don't. And you won't get it till you get it, but your body will break down on you. That high cortisol, like going 24/7 in fight or flight all the time, you will have a body breakdown, which is what happened to me 5.5 years ago, which is why now I do drop into my body. My body is the compass before my brain, my heart, my ego. Because if my body is saying this is a big fuck no right now because you are operating on fight or flight, you're gonna lose it all anyway. So for those of you that are more addicted to like the comeback story, I mean, I'm the queen of comeback. I mean, it's been highly published, my comeback story, and you can ride the wave of that, and you can be like, oh yeah, that's where shit happens. But your body can only take it for so long, and take it from the wisdom of almost 50 years. It will catch up to you. And it's not worth it. You can grow without chaos, I promise you. But also be willing to lean into the real pain and the real discovery process. And
really see you can break through to what you're talking about, which is being in flow,
right,
and building from a place of groundedness and peace and peace. That word, I would say
harmony.
Yeah. Yes. Great word.
The ebbs and flows and finding
absolutely.
Harmony.
Yeah. You know, I don't know. Will you share your story? I don't know it. So I would love to hear it. And I'm sure everyone else here would, because it sounds like you've been through quite a bit.
You know, like it goes back to that story about the day I was born, quite honestly. And that's where my biggest trauma is. You wouldn't, and I've grown up in an alcoholic home. I've had sexual assaults and abuse in my life, and abandonment from a mom. And like all those things are really like, holy crap, that's a lot. My biggest trauma was the story of the day I was born and my dad wanting a boy, and this was 50 years ago. So things were really different back then. And, he was in the waiting room. He wasn't there. There were no gender reveal things or anything like that back in 1972. But my dad wanted a boy. I had a blue room, like my name was picked out. I had all boy clothes all set out for me. The doctor comes out. My dad's chain smoking in the room and says, "Congratulations, Mr. O'Malley, you have a daughter." And my dad said, "You know what?" Puts a cigarette out and he says, "You can keep her. I don't want her." Totally joking. Like the Irish, we're like really Irish. We're big storytellers. And my dad telling that story, I was 4 years old when I heard that.
Yeah.
And although if you knew my dad, he's passed away 10 years ago, but if you knew my dad, you knew he was joking. And if you saw my dad with me, you knew he loved me. But the 4-year-old ears and the 4-year-old heart heard that. And I keep this picture of me really close because that's me at 4.
And I have one on my wall too. I love that.
It's a reminder when I get scared that it's
inner child love.
Yeah. And, when I heard that story, that changed my entire life, because I believed in that 4-year-old moment that in order to be worthy of love, approval, acceptance, and attention, I had to think like a boy, act like a boy. But I also had to look and stay pretty like a girl because that was also told to me. And
Yeah.
so it was like this very confusing thing. And so obviously I went through life powering through like a bulldozer. I'm an
Yeah.
Aries, I'm Irish, I'm Enneagram 8. There's a lot of fire there, a lot of protection. My dad was a very functioning alcoholic. My mom emotionally could not deal with life. And so I was like a surrogate spouse to my dad and a caregiver for my sister most of my life, very independent. Got married at 21 to get the hell out of the family and out of the house. And like a good Irish girl does, has, Irish twins. By the time I'm 24, I have a husband, 2 kids, and a mortgage, and totally fine with it. And really thought like, oh, I got out. And then my own daughter turned 4. And I was 28. So this was 22 years ago. This is when my personal development journey started. And I was filled with so much rage towards her. And she was everything I wasn't. She was this free-spirited, beautiful. She looked just like me. She was just so happy and carefree. And I was pissed as fuck at her that she got to be like that and I didn't. It was really her. And so 22 years ago is when I started really kind of the discovery process of, oh shit, you can't just outrun, outwit, outsmart, outlast your past. You have to actually, really address it, honor it, have compassion for it, and learn new tools to move through it. And for about 12 years, I floundered. I was very private in that. I was married. That blew up. The recession blew up. I lost everything, marriage, business, and a house 12 years ago, and got divorced. And my coping mechanisms weren't great. They were anger, alcohol, food, codependency, you name it, everything but drugs I used to kind of deal. And it all came to a head 10 years ago when my dad passed away of a 10-day cancer diagnosis. And I was 40 and I was like, wow, like, is this all life is? And my coping mechanisms were shit. My kids were 14 and 15 and they were starting, if you don't repair it, you repeat it. I started to see some of their patterns come out that were resembling mine. Same package, different wrapping paper. But I was like, they don't stand a chance if I don't light a new path and blaze a new trail. And so, 10 years ago, when I was 40 years old, I wiped out my social network. I cleaned house and checked myself into rehab for all those things. And it was in rehab that my therapist, who I still see to this day, introduced me to the Enneagram. And we really started uncovering all of this. And so the last 10 years, I took my house, my finances to ground zero 10 years ago and have, probably made upwards of $6 million over the last 10 years through affiliate marketing, through my coaching practice, through, investments and things like that. But really using those painful things that, like, thank God I was willing to reveal and address and get tools so that I could not just, know the way, but I could also go the way. And now I get to show the way for not just my children who are now 24 and 25 and thriving, but the millions of people I've been able to kind of light the way for. And I take that with so much honor and privilege and responsibility that, like, thank God I was willing to do the work. So, I'm a first generation personal developer, these Gen X and Gen
Love
X,
it. Yeah.
we don't have parents that went first in this thing. And so I've been winging it, but it's working out okay for me.
It sounds like it's going
And if it does
beautifully.
for me, it can for any of you guys watching.
Yeah. And absolutely it will. And I think it's so powerful to share our stories. So thank you for sharing all of that. I so much gold there in terms of thinking about how we break through in ways that at the time are so confusing and scary and illuminating, and I think having kids, I have 4 kids now, 3 biological and 1 in a blended family. And it's like watching them shift and pivot and grow and exactly, whatever you repress, your children express. And so it's this powerful moment of going, oh shit, I see my patterns that have been somewhat unconscious coming out in my kids. It's time for me to change and grow. And then watching them transform with you where they get to change and grow as you change and grow. It's just like such a beautiful, incredible process. Love that happened for you. And thank you for sharing. Wow. Okay. we're going to shift a little bit in terms of, history into what would you say are 3 really straightforward tips that you can give entrepreneurs to break through to 6 figures faster? You said in the last 10 years, you've generated over $6 million. That's a powerful story going from ground zero. So what would you offer in terms of tips for entrepreneurs who are watching, who are, on that path to building their business? Maybe they're at 6 figures, or that's where they're breaking through to, or they're ready to go beyond. What are your biggest 6-figure faster tips?
Honestly, take an inventory of who's in your life. That environment is stronger than willpower, and I'm the strongest willed person I know. And I'm telling you, your environment will take you out and block every blessing that's meant for you. And sometimes when you want to invite in, whether it's, more supportive relationships and friendships and business partners, or more abundance and money and wealth, a lot of times you have to make room for it. And it can't be this contingency plan where, like, if I do this, I will get this. That's not how shit works. Sometimes that works in buying and selling a house, but it doesn't work with manifestation and the flow, right? You have to make room before it shows up. Otherwise, when it shows up, it has nowhere to go. It's going to go to somebody else.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Those powerful relationships, those dollars that you want in your bank account. So me taking my life to ground zero was setting the proper foundation for the right people to show up. Even when I had to walk away from 99% of my entire family.
Yeah.
I love them very, very much, but they are toxic as fuck.
Yeah.
And their beliefs around money, not okay for me. It's okay for them. I don't judge them, but not on my watch, not in my house. And so take an inventory of who's in your life and who's chirping in your ear and who you're taking advice from. There's 3 people in the world I will actually take advice from.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
be discerning. It's discernment.
And would you trade places with them? And I don't mean their bottom line, because there's a lot of people that there's this idolatry that goes on that, if they've got money, that means they know their shit. They may have gotten lucky and it may be sustainable, or who knows the whole story. But if they don't have the energetic wealth as well, energetic wealth is as powerful as financial wealth. And the only way you can have energetic wealth is through emotional intelligence and self-awareness.
Yeah.
Not just of yourself, but the audience, the people in your circle, right? And to be able to communicate and really, like you said, discern, something doesn't feel right. And that takes that feminine energy and tapping into your body.
Well, listening to intuition, right? Is this person energetically aligned? I always tell people, who cares if you're making millions of dollars if you're energetically misaligned and you feel like crap? Because people can push their way to make a lot of money. Money isn't just about, money doesn't buy you happiness. It doesn't, not all people who are wealthy financially are going to be wealthy energetically or spiritually or feel good doing it, right? So I always think about wealth as the holistic picture of health, wealth, happiness, well-being. And that's going to equal, great relationships, love of self, feeling confident in your being, enjoying what you do in the world, living in your zone of genius, making money, having fun. I
work with a lot of high-level CEOs and very wealthy doctors, psychiatrists. I work with high-level people a lot of the time. And although they've had success on paper, their home life is crumbling, their health is crumbling. They don't know how to actually feel connected to another human being. And so you can have all of it, but it will require you to be vulnerable, to break down some of these walls, and to have the right people around you where there's this even vulnerability and energy exchange so that you can evolve and grow. And that has been the number one asset in my wealth and my growth. And I have financial wealth and that's great. But I'm telling you, 5.5 years ago when my health took a shit, none of it mattered.
Yeah.
None of it mattered. I mean, it mattered because I could kind of go rogue and do some out of the box healthcare stuff.
Sure.
Thank God for that.
Yeah.
But all the money in the world can't buy time.
Yeah.
So
that's such a powerful statement.
Having your wealth, having your relationships, and having your health, that's the trifecta that you're aiming for, because you can have all 3, I promise you. But it's going to take self-awareness and emotional intelligence first, and an unconditional commitment to that process. Till you're dead. Till you're dead, people.
Yes. Oh man, that was some good stuff right there. Everyone needs to rewind. I mean, this is such powerful. If you're thinking about up leveling in any way, all the tips here are what you need to be hearing because, we've talked about the magic pill. It doesn't work that way. Money isn't like, oh, money fixes everything. Money can actually, it just amplifies who you are and what your quest is. And, it's like, what's really important. And when you run into health issues, I think that that's such a powerful way to have it highlighted and go like, what really matters? And we really realize time. Choice of freedom with what you do with your time is everything. Money can give you that. Yeah. It's not going to give you that if you're not balanced in all the holistic ways. So yeah, gems of wisdom. I'm loving it. Okay. What would you say number 2 and 3? And you might have already said them and maybe just, clarify.
I'm so bad at like the
lists.
I'm so terrible.
Well, let's say, so we've got, I mean, you've already given so many, but it's like taking inventory of who's in your life.
Checking your body, using your body as the compass first. If like when you're making decisions, pause will be your best friend. And really like, where do you feel it in your body? And what does your gut tell you? And if you are somebody who operates just in your head or even just in your feelings all the time, you might not have a clear line to your intuition. That's a muscle you'll have to build. But the more that you really learn how to lean into that muscle is strong as hell. And that is something that nobody can take away from you. And that is where all my decisions are made. But it comes from a pause first, because I can be very decisive. And that's not a great thing because I'm so instinctual. There's a difference between instinct and intuition. Instincts usually operate from a place of reaction, right? Yeah. Intuition is coming from a place of inner knowing. And knowing the difference and understanding and then integrating your understanding of the difference is everything. Because when it's a big fuck no in your body and then you have to actually say no, it can be hard. Even when the dollars, like I have had people tell me things that I should do in my business and on paper, they're absolutely right. Abso-freaking-lutely right. I would make tons of money. Tons. I would be a household name. However, in my body, it's like, I don't want that for my life. I really, really don't want to give up what that, like I could have that, but I know what it will cost me. And that price is too big to pay.
Yeah.
It is. And in the past, I would have been like, hell yeah, let's do that. My ego would have loved every second of that. But my body and my soul would have been like, oh my God, you're doing it again. And so learning how to lean into that again.
Yeah.
You're hearing it now. You may have never like even exercised this muscle. Don't expect to like say you're going to the Olympics and then go do it tomorrow. Like you got to spend time and consistency and commitment to building that muscle for it to be effortless. Like it has become for me today.
Yeah. Well, this to me, first of all, you are the first person that I've run into who talks about the difference between instinct versus intuition. And to me, that's so powerful. I say the exact thing. Your instinct is a reaction and it's your animalistic nature and it can be operated out of fear, right? So your intuition is your inner guidance. And your instinct doesn't need to be developed because we're animals. It's going to instantly come up because we have fight, flight, freeze to protect ourselves. Intuition is your internal spiritual voice that's guiding you in a direction. And the more you listen to it, the louder it gets. And so just like Tracy's saying, it's not something that's going to happen overnight. If you've spent years shutting down your intuitive voice, it's not like all of a sudden it's going to yell at you what to do. You got to practice and you've got to listen to it more and more. And then it gets out to the point, I don't know for you, but for me, it's like for me to do something that's out of alignment because so quickly it's like that voice just goes like, no, this is out of alignment. Do not move forward. And so
my body will break down
stronger over time. And it's incredible to experience.
Yeah. My body breaks down on me now. If everything tightens up, everything gets thrown off if I don't honor the intuition and kind of go off ego and instincts sometimes. So very humbling. It's very humbling, but I'm here for it. I'm here for it.
Yes. Okay. Number 3 then. Do we want to say that it's listen to your intuition? Do you have something else you'd prefer to say for getting to 6 figures faster? And I love these tips because these are all about energetic alignment tips.
Yeah, I would say the last thing, I know a lot of people
So we'll say,
yeah, I would say a lot of people that are probably watching right now are personal development junkies and information gatherers. And a lot of you are just, I'm going to get more information because I feel like if I know more, then it's going to happen. And actually, it's the opposite. The more that you clutter your brain with more information, the more you're going to stay stuck, stagnant, and block the flow of wealth. And so I'm not saying you don't learn and then kind of stop. You learn, take action, learn, integrate, take action. And here's the other thing: take what you need and leave the rest. What one person tells you, like I said, like I've had very great advice on how I could build an empire in a certain way. But it's like, yeah, I hear you and I understand that. And that's a no for me. Right. So take what you need, leave the rest. But information integration, not information. And then you're so tired because you're like, I don't know what to think anymore.
yeah.
And then you get paralyzed, and then the shame spirals come, and then the self-loathing, and then maybe your coping mechanisms that sound a little bit like mine used to can wipe everything out. So really just, have this harmony between gathering information and integrating it. It has to have harmony. It can't be unbalanced. Otherwise, you're throwing away time that you can't buy or get back.
Yeah.
So weigh out
good.
and balance out your information gathering and then the integration of it.
Yeah.
That's what makes things move fast. And you're going to be messy. It's going to be messy. You're going to make mistakes, but that's how you learn. And that's where the magic happens. Always.
Man, so many mic droppers in there. So awesome, Tracy. Thank you. I want to say that that's incredibly important because I think a lot of people use learning as a form of procrastination, and it feeds their imposter syndrome. And when you're proving yourself, you get stuck in that imposter syndrome. Like, I need to learn more. I need to know more in order to do something in my business. And so I love that you're talking, you got to learn, integrate, which means your knowledge in action. So you're taking in what you're learning, then you're taking steps in the direction that causes you to learn more. That will also lead you, if you listen to your intuition, into what to learn next, learn again, and do that process over and over. And then that's how you speed up your business growth process and your money-making process. So incredible advice from Tracy. And our wrapping up in a few minutes, what would you say is a number one top 10 book that you've read that helped you with your money mindset?
Because I believe that a lot of this, your money mindset, it is an inside job.
Yeah.
There are a few. I have one, John Gordon is one of my all-time favorite authors. The Energy Bus and The Carpenter are two of the greatest books on personal leadership and then, leadership outside of you. Love those. I love Codependent No More, because a lot of your money blocks come from this codependent bond that you might have. And it can look very different for everyone and different areas of your life. A lot of you have a lot of codependence. That is my number one personal development book that I recommend to a lot of people. If you are a woman watching this and you have people-pleasing tendencies, or maybe some codependency, or you have walls up, or you have this need for significance and approval, there's a book called Perfect Daughters that was the first book I read at 28 years old when I had that experience with my daughter. Life-changing book. And finally, for
that one.
Yeah, it's old, but it's freaking great. And there's a version for men called Silent Sons, Perfect Daughters and Silent Sons. And I have a silent son, obviously.
Incredible.
Lastly, for my Enneagram buffs out there, I love the wisdom of the Enneagram, just to kind of understand the 9 basic types, and like, oh, you're going to realize there's people in your life that don't talk like you or communicate like you, and learning how to communicate in a way that what's in it for them will allow you to have more harmony and flow in your personal and professional relationships. And that's what I spend most of my days teaching on.
Enneagram. Yeah, I know. We could have talked for hours because I would love to ask you so many more questions.
Get me back on that one. Yeah.
Yes, I know. Okay, let's see. You said, and it's the wisdom of Enneagram.
The wisdom of the Enneagram.
The wisdom. Oh, that sounds good. Okay. I love Enneagram work. I've just tapped into it recently. Yeah. Yeah. So awesome. Okay. So everyone, there has been, I mean, wow. Power packed gems of wisdom from somebody who has, as you heard, been there, done it, like all around, just awesomeness. So I know you're going to want to connect with Tracy. So Tracy, is this the best place for them to connect with you?
There or on Instagram at Tracy_O'Malley. I'm there a lot. And I have a podcast. Yeah. And I have a podcast called The Leadership Formula that has over 240 episodes of wisdom and nuggets around all this stuff.
Okay. Podcast, The Leadership Formula. Yeah. So everyone check Tracy out there and on Instagram as well. If they type in Tracy O'Malley, they'll find you, I would imagine, and the Leadership Formula. Okay. I was going to type it in, but we'll let it show there. So this has been incredible. Thank you so much for coming on. I know everyone at the beginning, I thought I was going to do a solo cast today, and we ended up getting to do our fabulous discussion. So yep, it always works out. I always trust that it's going to work out exactly as it needs to. And for everyone, all of you know that in order to get my 3-step money formula, and remember, this is a process. I like how we talked about, it's not, there's no magic pill. It doesn't happen overnight. It's not like, oh, 1, 2, 3, in the next 3 minutes, I'm going to be rich. It doesn't work that way. This is about changing yourself from the inside out, facing your parts where you have money shame, money fears, money blocks, which all relate to your interpersonal power. Tracy and I didn't get to dig into it, but the first book that changed my life was a codependency book as well. And so, a lot of people struggle with codependency in business. And I think of that really as imposter syndrome in business. Like codependency and imposter syndrome have a lot of similar qualities. So if you're struggling with imposter syndrome, definitely check out the codependency books. And, NFA Money Formula is going to help you strategically in your business. Check out what Tracy has to offer. Feed is stuck. There we go. Check out what Tracy has to offer. She's incredible. Tons of cool stuff on Instagram and an incredible podcast, Leadership Formula. So thanks for being here, Tracy. And for everyone else, be sure to watch the rest of the NFA Money Talks playlist. You'll get incredible conversations with other entrepreneurs. And until next time, NFA Money Making High Fives.
Love it. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, absolutely.